Charlie Kirk's form of Christianity is a form of white supremacy by which I have a theory that in America there are two types of main Christianity. One worships Jesus, the other worships white supremacy. And the reason why I can back this up is because I did my undergraduate thesis on the color of Jesus back when I was in the Bible Belt of northern Florida. Which I had no idea what kind of racial dynamics and politics I was getting into at the time, but this will absolutely be a lecture. So if you want to buckle in and sit down for this, this is actually kind of interesting. My first point, though, I do want to make is that the KKK, and I'm talking about the revival of the KKK, like post D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation, created this revival of the KKK. And why I bring this up that is so important and necessary is because the KKK identified as Christians, and not just Christians, but they had three basic enemies, or like in their basic like manifesto. Number one, obviously, not surprisingly, black people. Number two, Jewish people. The third, though, were Catholics. And the reason for Catholics, when I was diving further into like the reasoning about why it was Catholics, was because they identified Catholics as like too European. Like they were too affiliated with like Europeanness. And in this branch of white supremacy that the KKK has kind of manifested, which is a predominant ideology that obviously is found in the United States, is that being too European is not white enough, because whiteness is a separation, right? We even understand that in the history of like supremacist, fascist ideologies, right? When they were stripping buildings of like ornate color and creating these like, communist fascist buildings of the simplicity, they were essentially trying to separate Europe and create this kind of conformity. So this stripping down is this form of supremacy culture that we know that has happened in Europe, that we can also see in the United States. But taking a step further, when we talk about the color of Christ, okay? When I was reading, there was number one, the book was called Color of Christ. The second book I read was American Jesus. Both of these books were really supplemental to my research. And one of the really important things they were saying was that the American immigrants, the immigrants coming into America, who were becoming the first Americans, were in fact Protestants, and not just Protestants, but the specific brand of iconoclasts. Iconoclasts were essentially this wave of Protestantism that kind of came after like the Catholics, where they kind of started to see images of Jesus and other religious figures as idolatry. And so what they started doing was they started dismantling and destroying them. If you actually see, like, there's a lot of history, I think, in Germany, where you actually can see this form of iconoclasm where like these busts were destroyed, right? We know that it was what was his name? Saint John of Damascus, I believe, who argued that